patience. Share my screen, and we're gonna get the ball rolling. All right, hopefully everyone can see, and we're gonna get started. So we covered a lot of juicy stuff yesterday, and be sure to catch the replay. It's in the Facebook group in case you wanna, go back to it or whatever. It's in there. Today we're gonna be looking at the subconscious mind, how it influences our life, our health, why you might be pushing away what you want on a subconscious level. This is also known as resistance. We're also going to be looking at becoming automatically empowered by living at the cause side of your life, revealing how your belief systems may be influencing your health outcomes, like patterns showing up in your life. We're going to also be doing an EFT tapping session together. So to help integrate and embody this, to clear fear, to reduce stress, to get rid of any limiting beliefs that are, showing up for you. And we will be ending with a somatic NLP exercise, which is going to help you get connected with your feminine energy, but also unleash your authentic self. So super excited for that. If you want to also go farther with this than just the 2-day workshop and masterclass, I'll also be talking about how you can do that at the end. So how you think and how you feel consistently creates your personality. As Joe Dispenza likes to say, I'm sure you've heard of this before. So one thing we want to be sort of aware of is what state do you live in? Where do you live most of the day? When you wake up, as you go throughout your day, at work, at home, a lot of the time we might have like this amazing morning routine. We're just like tapping into our higher self, but then throughout the day, we go back into our unconscious programming, right? So we want to start to become aware of this, which is what we're going to be doing today. So this program, which is unconscious, is what's running under the surface. It's running our life, and it's automatic and outside of our awareness until it becomes conscious, and then we can choose differently. So according to cognitive scientists, we are conscious of only about 5% of our cognitive activity. So most of our decisions, actions, emotions, and behavior depends on 95% of brain activity that goes beyond our conscious awareness, also known as the subconscious. So an estimated 95% of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors happen without even us being aware of it. So essentially, the subconscious mind is creating 95% of our life. So this is where we store everything from, our experiences, our beliefs, past events, our values, our identity, and it also acts as a filter to our reality, which we're going to dive into. So basically, it's like the glasses that we see the world through. So this is a good quote that sort of depicts what happens here. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So what happens is a lot of these memories and aspects of ourselves are not processed, and they're sort of suppressed. They're not reintegrated. And so they can remain locked, quote unquote, in the confines of our body, our subconscious, and express themselves as symptoms or tensions, or even dictate our actions or influence what we attract into our lives, which will show up as like patterns and cycles. So this might be where we might be saying, like, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I always attract the same kind of partner or job? Why am I always broke? Like, etc. This is why, because if there's something that continuously shows up in your life, it's likely not a circumstantial thing, it's a subconscious thing. So most of what is programmed into our subconscious comes from the ages of between 0 to 9 ballpark. And it's usually attached to significant or emotionally charged events. 85% of our neural pathways are developed between the age of 0 to 9. So it's almost like we're sort of a sponge, and we absorb the things that we see and hear. And a lot of the time we create beliefs and stories and identities that are based on what we see, even though it's not necessarily correct, quote unquote, or true. So the function of our subconscious mind is to store and retrieve data. It's to ensure that we respond exactly the way that we're programmed. So your subconscious mind takes everything you say and do, fit a consistent pattern. So it's trying to conserve energy too. So this is why we have this automation. Otherwise, we would be so exhausted. So your mind is like a corporation with millions of workers. So your conscious mind is like the CEO, and its job is to make decisions and instruct the workers. And the subconscious mind is like the workers, and it basically takes those instructions. It doesn't reason or negotiate, it just accepts. So if you tell it you're lazy, not good enough, you're a procrastinator, or you're wealthy, you're beautiful, you're unwanted, you're successful, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, enough times, it will take it as truth. It will see that as important. So the mind doesn't care if you say something that is good or bad, it's healthy or unhealthy, helpful or unhelpful, or even if it's actually true, it will take it as truth because it's responding to you. You are in command. And the subconscious mind will also never make you a liar. So it won't contradict your identity with what you want. So for example, if you really want to be wealthy, but you see that, or maybe you were brought up and you sort of learn that wealthy people are the devil or whatever, and you hear a lot of people like putting them down, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. You don't want to be evil. So it's going to protect you from that. This could show up in health as well, or with relationships. It's never going to contradict who you are on an identity level. So if you say you are whatever it is, it's going to take your word for it. And so this is our deepest layer. It's our identity. So what can happen is the conscious mind can be in harmony with the subconscious mind, or it can be in conflict. So the conscious mind has the will and the subconscious mind has the power. So when they're in harmony, we have willpower. We're like working together. It's like we have a single mind that's going towards the same goal. But when they're in conflict, there's not much willpower. It's like a push and pull. One wants to go one way, the other one is putting on the brakes, wants to go the other way. So it's like your mind and your body are in disagreement because the subconscious lives in the body. So your mind might be fighting a belief in the body, which has emotional charge. And it's likely lived there for years and has a lot of proof, emotional charge backing it up. So this is where self-sabotage can happen, which is really just self-protection, which we're going to get into. It's keeping you safe within your program and your conditioning and your comfort zone. So your conscious mind can't directly overpower your subconscious mind and like will it to do something. So for example, a lot of people would say affirmations like, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am fit, I am attracting the best relationship of my life or whatever. And affirmations can totally work, but most of the time we say them in a way that really initiates the bullshit meter from the subconscious mind. So I'm sure you've done this before where you're just like, I keep saying this phrase, but I'm just like, don't believe it. And so this is where your conscious mind is trying to force your subconscious mind to get on board, but it's too big of a stretch. What can also happen is if you're trying to start a new habit, or you want to be fit or lose weight or start a business or whatever, be successful, but your identity contradicts that, there will likely be sabotage that happens. So this is why working with the subconscious mind is much more effective. And we're going to talk about ways that we can do that. We're going to talk about NLP today, but some of the ways that we can influence the subconscious mind is with things like NLP, hypnosis, but then also when the subconscious mind is really open to influence due to different brainwave states. And that is like early in the morning when you're just waking up, basically when you're waking up, and when you're just falling asleep. Those are the most two influential times to, influence the subconscious mind. This is why a lot of people will meditate during those times or listen to affirmations and things like that. So if they don't work together, the results can be harmful. So for example, health, seeking destructive relationships, sabotage, spending all your money, inappropriate behaviors like poor eating habits, and even temper outbursts. This is what happens when there's that conflict. So we'll talk more about resistance towards change and having what you want later on in this class. This is a really good graphic to sort of understand this concept of what happens and how we see the world differently according to our subconscious mind. So the brain receives roughly 20 million bits of information every second. It's a lot. It would blow a fuse if it tried to process that. That would just be like way too much. So a part of your brain filters through all of that to bring what is relevant to our conscious mind. So it will sort through reality based on your beliefs, your values, your identity stored in your subconscious. So your unique reality represents only about 0.006% of what is really going on in the world. And so the RAS is a really important part of the brain. It's a small part of the brain with a big job. So it's the gatekeeper of information that is let into the conscious mind. So the conscious mind receives about 2,000 bits of information every second. And so what gets through the RAS into the conscious mind? Only the stuff that's important to you. So for example, it's like the classic thing where you're looking for a type of dog. For instance, at one point I was really looking for a Bernedoodle. So it's like a Bernese Mountain Dog and a poodle. And I started to see them not everywhere, but like more and more. Before I had never seen one in my life. Or maybe you're looking for like a specific car and then you like see it everywhere. This is what's happening when you're telling your mind what's important. You start to see it. It's not that there are necessarily more, but your mind is starting to like see it in your reality. So this is also why they say that changing your internal reality is important. Like this is really an important part of changing your external reality. Like change your inner world to change your external world. Okay, so when you work with your subconscious mind and tell it what's important to you, it can help you to reveal the people, the information, the opportunities that help you to move closer to your desires and goals. So just because we might have some programs that are not serving us anymore, doesn't mean that our subconscious mind is trying to sabotage us. It's trying to help us all the time, but we need to make sure that we're giving it the right information. So what happens when we do this is this can result in synchronicities and even miracles, quote unquote. But usually what we do is we tend to focus on the negative and everything wrong and the things we complain about and all the scarcity. And then we see more of that. And then that reinforces the belief. So most people try to change their external reality by changing the external. And this is the least effective way to do it. It's usually going to take longer. It's going to be more annoying, harder. And this is why we need to look at our internal reality, because when we shift that, our external reality has no choice but to shift as well. So the question here is, what are you focusing on most of the day? What are you telling your mind is important? Is it limiting or is it expanding? Is it serving you or not? So just something to take into consideration. So the law of cause and effect. Your present circumstances are based off of your past self. So this will be your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs. Most of these are a result from our subconscious programming and our belief systems, aka our autopilot. As we saw, the subconscious mind creates 95% of our life. So where you are now is the sum total of all of our conscious and unconscious decisions that brought you to this moment. So the law of cause and effect states that every effect has a specific and predictable cause. Every cause or action has a specific and predictable effect. So this means that everything that we currently have in our lives is an effect that is a result of a specific cause. So what happens is we're either living at the effect or at the cause side of our life. So you can choose to be at the cause of your personal universe, your personal reality, or you can choose to live at the effect of your diagnosis or the people around you or the circumstances that surround you. If there is an area of your life that's not working out for you, it's likely you're being at the effect of something or someone. So examples could be like, are you resenting others or blaming them for where you're at? That's being at effect. Or are you taking responsibility for your life, your actions? That's being at cause. Using the word I can't is being at effect. Or a lot of disempowering language. I choose, I will, I won't. This is being at cause. Waiting for your life to change or someone to give you permission, being at effect. Taking charge of your life and validating yourself, being at cause. Cause will equal results. Being at effect will equal reasons and excuses for not having the result. So a really powerful question that you can ask yourself to take control of your life and really get into that empowered state is, how might I be at cause for this? So this is not at all about blame. This is about empowerment, because when we take 100% responsibility for our part, even when external things and people are involved, which we can't control, we take 100% of our power back. So this is the opposite of victim mode. We can't control, of course, all of life's events, but we can control our perspective, our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, how we react. And that's actually going to serve us way more than if we're trying to control everything externally, which I'm sure if you are an adult here, you've learned that that doesn't work very well. So the next slide is the subconscious mind, its influence on health. So the subconscious mind is the part of the brain that's responsible for healing in the body. So your subconscious mind controls all the vital processes of the body. It contains a blueprint of your body in perfect health. So vibrant health is really like the normal state, whereas disease is abnormal, quote unquote. So your physical body is a direct reflection of the state of your inner self. So the most frequent causes of illness on a mental and energetic level are things like negative attitudes, emotions, like the low vibrational emotions we saw on that scale yesterday, guilt, shame being the lowest ones. The need for attention as well on a subconscious level. This can often come from like childhood patterns, not being seen, things like that, or the need to escape an unpleasant situation. So these are all going to be on a subconscious level. Because if you think negatively, destructively, limiting, these thoughts generate low vibrational emotions. Like, when you think a negative thought, and we're going to play around with this, it feels different in your body versus when you have like expansive thought processes. So this has been shown to weaken tissues, and the energy that is generated needs to express itself and find an outlet. It doesn't just disappear, right? Because energy is transformed, but it doesn't just disappear. Because then it can show up as like symptoms and things like that. So emotions can be expressed as ulcers, heart trouble, tension, anxieties, pain, PMS, hormone issues, neck or back pain, acne, inflammation. All of these subconscious things going on can express themselves physically through the body. The other thing I really want to emphasize, and I talked about this yesterday, but it's not about bypassing these emotions. Like, oh my God, I can't feel these emotions. Like, they're so bad. That's not at all what I'm about at all. We do need to feel our emotions, because if we just ignore and suppress them, they're just going to stay in there, right? It's about processing them and not keeping them unconscious and ignoring. So that's where we want to be able to release what is not ours, process, let it move through our body. So this is also a really great quote from Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's been doing great research in this area. The blood's chemistry is largely impacted by the chemicals emitted from your brain. Brain chemistry adjusts the composition of the blood based upon your perceptions of life. So this means that your perception of any given thing at any given moment can influence the brain chemistry, which in turn affects the environment where your cells reside and controls their fate. So as we talked about yesterday with the epigenetics. So in other words, your thoughts and perceptions have a direct and overwhelming significant effect on cells. So this echoes what many healers have been advocating for years. Your mind can and does contribute to both the cause and healing of whatever ails you. So there's also this mental component of health and disease. And this is why many people can stay stuck, because they believe they need to try harder, do more, find another strategy, all of the things we talked about yesterday, try more diets, workouts, supplements, without addressing their internal world, their nervous system, their mind, their beliefs, their emotions. And it's not just about health here. Your internal world affects everything, as we talked about. So what happens when we only focus on changing what's outside of ourselves? We usually revert to old patterns and behaviors. We fall off the wagon, we sabotage, we procrastinate. we give up, we burn out. This could also look like changing jobs, but having the same sort of boss or the same money issues, breaking up with someone, but choosing another person with the same sort of toxic behaviors or traits, trying all of the supplements and diets, but not really getting anywhere, or not following a healthy lifestyle long enough, or still experiencing unexplainable symptoms that just can't seem to be resolved. Because it's inside that is attracting and creating. Only changing the external isn't a long-term strategy. It's really important that we take a look at the internal while taking aligned action, obviously. So emotions are also going to be signaling to us where we are out of alignment and what matters to us, because you can take all of the supplements, follow the best diet, exercise every day, but if you're ignoring what your soul truly wants, so what we talked about with the authenticity piece, the human design, if you're living your life based on shoulds, if you're hiding your voice, if you're suppressing how you actually feel, if you have beliefs and identities that keep you small and based in lack and scarcity, you still won't be healthy, because that is what's going on under the surface. So what is actually creating our reality is in our subconscious, it's in the body, it's in our nervous system. So we're going to get into a little bit more of beliefs here, because this is a really big aspect of the subconscious mind. So beliefs are formed from repetition and from an emotional charge. So they live in our subconscious, and they influence, as I mentioned, how we see the world and how we experience reality. They are unconscious until we bring awareness to them. So we're going to do a little exercise with that today. I want you to notice the areas of your life that you rarely seem. Let's start with the first one. Notice the areas that you tend to struggle. So maybe you have challenging patterns, or like this area, whether it's relationship, money, career, health. It's like, oh my God, this is always a struggle. Like, this is always just so hard. Usually we have one or two areas that's like, I usually tend to struggle with this. I want you to notice that. If you want to share in the chat, feel free to. But I want you to write that down, whether it's in the chat or on a piece of paper or in your notes, that area. And I want you to reflect, and you can come back to this later. What are the thoughts and beliefs that you have about this area, or your ability to succeed in this area? Like, what are the dominant thoughts and beliefs? The first things that come to mind, because that's going to be subconscious. If you're going to overthink it, then we're getting out of the subconscious. So first things that come to mind, what are the thoughts and beliefs you have about this and about your ability in this area? Just let you write that down. The second question would be, what are the feelings that come up? Maybe you feel something now. Maybe you know how you feel about this. Maybe there's an emotion, sort of feeling that comes up for you. And the third question is, what did you learn growing up about this area or this topic? So maybe you heard something that was repeated. Maybe you saw something. See you guys writing. It's amazing. We're going to get to the second part of the exercise in just a moment. So if you want to come back to this during the exercise and dive deeper into it, feel free to do that. But even having a bit of an idea of this is going to, again, bring this to the conscious awareness, because we don't want to just, let it go. And I don't know why this keeps coming up for me, and having no awareness around that, because then we can't change it. So the second part of this is noticing what are the areas that you don't tend to struggle in your life or worry about. So maybe it's relationship or money or career or even living situation. I'll give you a few examples. But what are the areas that you don't tend to think about, you don't tend to struggle. Like it doesn't really cross your mind. You don't spend a lot of energy or focus on it. And I want you to notice what are the thoughts that are associated with that. What do you believe about this area or your ability to succeed in this area? And sometimes it can take a little bit more thinking with this because usually we know our pain point. It's like, I know what I struggle with. It's very obvious. I can see Victoria's like nodding. But then we're like, oh, when we need to think about like, what am I good at? What works out for me? Our brain doesn't focus its energy on that. It's usually just, subconscious, right? Like we really don't think about that. We don't spend a lot of energy trying to find a solution. So it can take a little bit more thinking, but this is why this is an important exercise. So notice, what are the thoughts and beliefs? What is the feeling that comes up? Maybe it's even neutrality, like I don't really think about it, it's fine. Maybe it's something else. And also reflecting on, what did you learn growing up about this area or topic? So you're probably noticing how much of an effort it feels for the first one. Like it might feel harder, it might feel heavier, like you need to try harder, but you also want to notice your frequency and your beliefs around it. Whereas the second one, it might just feel like this just is. I'm like neutral about this. I don't spend a lot of time or energy on this. Like I'm just like in surrender energy. Like it just happens for me and it works out. For me, I'll just give a few examples. I've noticed that finding a home has always been effortless for me. Even when people have told me it's so competitive, it's so hard to find, it's unaffordable, everyone's looking, like good luck. Like I hear this all the time. But in my mind, I've never actually worried about this. I have a belief that it just works out. And I always seem to find like the place that people are like, how did you find this place? And I don't have, it's not like much of an effort for me. So this is also something similar with relationships. I've never worried about it. I've never felt desperate to find someone because I believe that the person I'm meant to meet will show up, and they do, because there is an abundance of people in the planet. Like I don't think there's like a scarcity of people. I'm like, there's so many people. I'm bound to meet someone, and I'm never doubt that. So this is something that I truly believe. Like I don't even question it. On the other hand, for me, career and money have always been the more challenging areas for me. I've, picked up a lot of programming, conditioning around that. I've seen a lot of, stuff going on with my family, and it's always felt more of a challenge for me. So I've had to do a lot more inner work to shift those beliefs that got ingrained and that I took on. So I'd love to hear what you noticed when you journaled on these two areas. Was there like a theme that you noticed, or like what was the difference between them? I'd love for you to share if there's anything you want to share in the chat. But this is a really important exercise to kind of see like what are the unconscious patterns and programs going on. So what can happen is oftentimes we don't allow ourselves to have what we truly want subconsciously because we have these ideas of what it will require of us that feel either unsafe, icky, not in alignment with our values, or something like that. And it isn't until we shift these associations and beliefs that we can experience a deeper ease with what we want. So does the desire actually feel good, safe, solid? And does being the person who operates at this level and who has this thing also feel good, safe, and solid? Because I don't think it's not just about having the thing. It's about being the person who has the thing. And we all know this, that it's going to require something different from us, or a certain version of ourselves. So oftentimes it's the fear about who do we have to become to hold that, to handle that, and what will change in our environment if we become successful, healthy, hot, fit, healthy, etc. What will people say? These are a lot of the subconscious fears that keep us in the comfort zone and not really getting more, quote unquote. So this is where resistance comes up. Our friend resistance can also be called the ego. So why might a part of you not want what you want? This is most often, again, subconscious without our awareness. So maybe you say you want to start your own business, but you keep procrastinating because you saw your dad go bankrupt in his business, or you saw that your mom was always working and she was never home. And maybe your subconscious registered that if you have a business, you won't have a love life or a life or time to live your life, or maybe you'll also lose everything. Maybe the thought of selling or being seen or being called out if you're too successful is something that your subconscious like trying to avoid. So it's like, I don't want that. Maybe you believe that if you lose weight or get healthy, you'll be the odd one out in your family because everyone else is unhealthy, or they eat fast food, or they make fun of people who are fit or wear, revealing clothing. And your subconscious is like, I don't want that. I don't want to be rejected, etc. Sometimes a common thing that happens is weight gain. There's a mental and energetic component to it where it actually protects us from being seen in the public eye or more noticeable or attracting partners. Many women may actually fear losing weight subconsciously in order to protect themselves from men or from past experiences that were traumatic. Maybe you want more money, but money was always the cause of fights in your house. So you associated money with fights and loss of love. Maybe your subconscious doesn't believe that you can have both, or maybe your family always criticizes wealthy people. So naturally, your subconscious mind doesn't want to be on the receiving end of that. It's protecting you. It's always about protection. So the thing is, the subconscious mind, well, the mind in general, would rather you be safe than thriving. And so this is where it comes back to, again, like the comfort zone and what we talked about yesterday, choosing attachments over authenticity. It would rather have you safe. And this is where a secondary gain can come in. So what a secondary gain is it's a benefit you get from the problem that your conscious mind is labeling problem, which is greater than the desire to release the problem. So it's a benefit that you get from the problem that is greater than the desire to release the problem. So if your mind is associating what you consciously say you want with something bad that it's trying to get away from, it will focus on moving away from them. So it's going to feel like kind of pushing a boulder up the hill. So this comes back to the conflict piece. Versus when we have a clear path and we clear those fears and beliefs and we're focused on the desire, we have something planned versus pushing something away. So this is where we get to question our beliefs and create new associations while releasing the energetic charge associated with the thing that we're trying to avoid, which is usually some sort of fear and that our bodies are holding on to. So it's not that you have a thought that's limiting or disempowering that's the problem. It's that you're choosing to believe it. Again, you are in command, you are choosing. But a lot of the time we chose these thoughts when we were, again, in the sponge mode, when we didn't have that conscious awareness or reasoning. So it's really important to believe, and I think we need to repeat this over and over again because we can get so convinced by our ego, essentially, that not every thought you think will be true. So what story do you keep telling yourself? My story, I realized that there was a time where I was repeating over and over again things like, I'm broke, or it never works out for me, or I don't have time. Those were like really big ones. And I realized I had to take a moment, and I realized I was like, that's not actually true. Like I actually have at least some money in my bank account. I actually do have at least 30 minutes today or an hour today. My mind was just looking at generalization. And so this is where the mind chunks up and it looks at generalizing. But then if we actually ask the question, is that 100% true? Usually it's not. So we really want to look at, what story do I keep repeating? And this is where starting to become aware of your thoughts on a daily basis is really valuable. And is that even absolutely true? Most of the time it's not. So you have to pay attention to what you're saying and thinking, because then we bring it to our conscious awareness. And so a belief is only a thought that has been repeated. It's not necessarily true. So what can happen is these beliefs can keep you from showing up in your authenticity, which creates magnetism, or following your intuition, which is your path of least resistance. We talked about with the human design. They can also prompt you to take action in misalignment, and they can make you believe that what you want is not possible for you. So basically taking you out of the game before you even try. They color the way that you see the world, and that will be mirrored back to you, like we looked at with the reality. So the challenge is it takes intention, awareness, and willingness to shift them. So the awareness is the first piece. Most people don't know this. And the second piece is the intention, because yes, this actually takes some work. Like it takes repeating and becoming aware, because these are automatic programs. Because these thoughts are loud, they're very convincing. You might not even know who you are without them. So this is where it can be very destabilizing or uncomfortable, looking at like, well, if that's who I thought I was, but like, that's not actually who I want to be anymore, then who am I? It's almost like, I don't know who I am, but like that could be something that's celebrated, because the unknown is where change happens, right? So what we've been doing is we've been feeding these beliefs, we've been giving them authority, giving them power, allowing them to call the shots, because they're just calling our world. And they've probably been our truth for many, many years, maybe our entire life. But this is the awakening journey, waking up to your truth and the programs that we've sort of been sleepwalking through. And we get to decide differently. So the good news is we can actually shift this. So before you start beating yourself up for thinking thoughts that don't serve you, or having negative beliefs or whatever it is, or trying to like bury them with affirmations, this is how I started my journey, where I was like, I can't hear any negativity, I can't say any negativity, like it's going to brainwash me, but that's literally not helpful either. I want you to forgive yourself and notice what might you have been experiencing, or who were you being, who were you thinking, what were you feeling when you decided to believe this. A lot of the time it's from instances in childhood where it was traumatic for us. And now we get to question it. Is this the absolute truth? And even if it could be true, it doesn't matter. There are multiple truths and realities available. In fact, according to quantum physics, there are infinite possibilities and realities. So do you actually want to believe this? That's the question that we need to ask. Because there's many people like Thomas Edison or whoever invented the first airplane or spaceship or whatever, they were called lunatics for thinking that they could create this. Like they were probably made fun of and all of that kind of thing. And so, because that had never been done before, right? So you could argue what they believed wasn't true because it wasn't actually reality yet until it was, right? So it really starts with our thoughts and our awareness, because you decide what you get to believe, because your belief is law to your subconscious mind and the universe. What you believe is going to be the truth for you. So this is why I love to use tools like NLP in my practice, and you'll get a bit of a taste of it today. NLP in a nutshell is how we use the basic language of our mind to consistently achieve what we want. So it works with the conscious and subconscious mind to shift them and bring them in alignment, like we talked about, and to serve your highest good. So NLP can be beneficial for so many things: confidence, self-awareness, communication, how you perceive the world. It can obviously affect every area of your life because the subconscious mind affects everything. It can be used to help program the mind for better habits, shift beliefs, release limiting beliefs, change behaviors, healing wounds and traumas, improving communication, inner self-talk, reducing triggers, and much more. So what we're going to start with today is, I'm sure you've heard of NLP, EFT. Maybe you've experienced it before, maybe you've done it before, but we're going to go through an exercise of EFT together. And if you haven't heard of what EFT is, it's emotional freedom technique. So it's a therapy technique loosely based on acupuncture and acupressure, because it uses the same basic energy meridians in the body to eliminate physical, emotional, and mental imbalances. So it looks at balancing the energy systems to overcome specific problems that can be anything from physical health. It can be used for physical symptoms. It can be used for like confidence, anxiety, fear, so many things, and limiting beliefs and all that. So according to EFT, the cause of all negative emotions is a disruption of the body's energy system. So kind of similar to what we talked about in the chakra system yesterday. And our negative emotions, if not processed, but rather suppressed, can stay stuck within our bodies, causing imbalances. So EFT can really help to shift that energy. And so what we do here is we tune into the energy of the problem and then balance that disruption by tapping on the energy meridian. So today we're going to be working with a limiting belief. Maybe it's the one that you journaled when we talked about what is the area that you tend to struggle with, what are the thoughts or beliefs. Maybe it's another one. I just want you to bring at least one thought or belief that is maybe emotionally charged for you. Maybe it's coming up for you and it's, showing up a lot right now. Whatever comes to mind that you want to take through this exercise, write it down. You can share with us in the chat if you feel like you want to do that. And we're going to work on that today. So let me know when you have it. Put a 1 in the chat when you have your thought or belief. And don't overthink it. Just let the first thing that comes to your mind, we're working the subconscious. So whatever is the first answer. All right, we got 1. Beautiful. Now I want you, when you have it, to just tune in, maybe taking a deep breath in, releasing. How intense does this belief feel on a scale of 1 to 10, or how true and intense? 1 to 10, 10 being so intense, can't even be more intense. 1 being this is very neutral, and you probably shouldn't bring it into this exercise if it's a 1. But let me know in the scale of 1 to 10 where you're feeling right now with that charge. 7. Okay, 7 is a good number. Usually if it's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's a good one to work on. Okay, we got some high numbers. Perfect. So I'm going to guide you through, first of all, the sequence so you know, and then I will be guiding you through it, saying the phrases out loud. You can either say it out loud or in your head, whatever you feel more comfortable with. So we're going to start with, I'll just guide you through the points: inner eyebrow, outer eyebrow. You can do both hands or just one, doesn't really matter. So we start with the inner eyebrow, outer eyebrow, under the eye, under the nose, chin, under the collarbone, under the arm. So it's like on the bra strap, just under the armpit. And then the last one is top of the head. All right, are we ready? Okay, beautiful. So let's start. Again, you either repeat out loud or in your head, and you just follow after me. Even though I believe, whatever the thought is, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Outer eyebrow. Even though I have this thought, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Under the eye, even though I believe this thought, I deeply love and accept myself. Under the nose, this thought driving me crazy. Chin, this belief that just seems so sticky. Collarbone, sorry, chin. This belief is making me feel whatever feeling comes up. How's it making you feel? Collarbone, I'm believing this thought and it's making me feel, insert how you're feeling. And feel into where that is in your body while tapping. Under the armpit, this thought that is triggering a feeling in my body. Top of the head, this feeling in my body, while focusing on where the feeling is in your body. Inner eyebrow, I'm going to allow this feeling to be here just for a few seconds. Outer eyebrow. I'm willing to witness everything this brings up for me. Under the eye. It's okay for me to allow this thought and this feeling. Under the nose, it's allowed to be here. Chin. I honor the feeling that's coming up for me right now. Just focusing on the feeling. Collarbone. I wonder why I believe this thought. Under the arm. This thought, how might it have served me? Top of the head. Maybe it protected me. Inner eyebrow. Maybe it kept me safe. Outer eyebrow. Maybe it kept me accepted and part of the group. Under the eye. Can I have compassion for the version of me who adopted this thought? Under the nose. Can I hold space or forgiveness for this version of me who took on this thought? Chin. Thank you, past version of me, for trying to protect me. Collarbone. I see you now. Under the arm. I accept you. You're allowed to be here. Top of the head. I wonder, is this thought serving me anymore? Inner eyebrow. This thought served me in the past, but it's actually not anymore. Outer eyebrow. I don't have to believe everything I think. Under the eye. I'm thinking of believing something different now. Under the nose. I'm clearing all beliefs that are not mine and that I don't want to believe anymore. Chin, what if I decided that? What do you want to decide now? What's the new belief you want to adopt now? Just saying that out loud. Collarbone. I wonder what it would be like if I let go of this thought. Under the arm. And if I chose something else instead, because I am the creator of my own reality. Top of the head. I wonder if I could choose to believe another thought now. Inner eyebrow. Can I? Will I? Can I do it now? Outer eyebrow. What does that feel like when I tap into this new thought? Under the eye, it's okay for me to open up to new possibilities, new truths, and new declarations. Under the nose, I wonder what would happen if instead of closing and contracting and limiting myself, chin, I expanded, I allowed, I opened. Collarbone, it's safe for me to choose a new thought now. Top of the head, I am now deciding that. What are you deciding? In her eyebrow, I am beyond any thought. This thought doesn't have power over me anymore. Outer eyebrow, it's just a thought, and thoughts can be questioned. They can be changed. Under the eye, I'm clearing all beliefs that are not mine now. All beliefs that have been passed down to me that I don't want to hold on anymore. Under the nose, I'm deciding what I will think and how I will feel. Chin, it's totally possible that I'm rewiring my internal program in real time. Under the arm, it feels good. Sorry, collarbone. It feels good to decide that I'm creating a new story for myself. Under the arm, I like thinking that I'm co-creating my reality. And we're going to end with just tapping over the heart. I am opening up to the possibility that I'm more powerful than I thought. Taking a deep breath in, letting that just anchor in your body for a moment. And I want you to take another breath in and just sort of tune in. Maybe it helps to close your eyes and notice, where are you now on that scale of 1 to 10? How charged does that thought or that old thought or belief feel for you now? Just let us know in the chat so we can see what changed. Take your time with this. Ooh, down to a 4. So went from a 7 to a 4, 5. Went from a 7 to a 5. Definitely progress. 6. So what can happen here is sometimes you will be more charged, but that's because stuff is coming up. So then we want to keep going. Oftentimes you will notice it's going down, and then we want to keep going until it's at like a 2 or a 1. So noticing what's present now. What do you feel? How do you feel differently about that thought? How do you feel differently in your body? Did anything really change? Not really. It was just our thoughts and our emotions attached to those thoughts, right? This is a quick version of what you can do. Of course, you can go for longer. but it's a great resource for you to have because you can tap with anything on anything. Basically, you want to tap on like what you're feeling and thinking right now. And then you want to tap on like what is a different perspective, alternative, like start to tap on like new possibilities. So this is something I highly recommend incorporating into your routine if you find that it really helps support you, because emotions need to move or they become mass. So what actions might you be taking or avoiding from the state where you started? So maybe at the beginning you were more resistant, more closed off, or from those thoughts, noticing that we are either operating from probability, so everything in my past, versus possibility. And so EFT can really help us tap into that possibility, going beyond the programming and the conditioning and the scarcity, the limitation. Instead of recycling our past into our present and future, we get to question it and sort of operate from a clean slate or even more of a neutral energy. What do you think could change if you took action from more of this state versus where you started? And obviously this can even get better when you go down to like a 1 or 2, or even just a few moments of tapping with these new thoughts, because it does really start with our state and our energy and our focus, which I'm going to talk about, and why just focusing on the action without addressing in the internal is backwards. So I hope that was beneficial for you and that you saw an improvement, but it looks like everybody noticed a shift for sure, and you can definitely keep going with this. So just a few more things before we get into the last exercise of the day. But I want to get into this because I talked a little bit about this a few seconds ago with the state, because 3 factors influence your behaviors and your feelings and determine the meaning behind your experience of life. So your physiology, so the way you use your body, is the fastest way to change your mental and emotional state. So this is why they say to move when you're feeling off. EFT is a form of like moving the energy, and that can help you change your physiology, like you just noticed. Mental focus, we talked about. What are you thinking? What are you focusing on? This also feeds into how you're feeling, and it determines your reality. So notice when you're feeling agitated or anxious or angry, what are you focusing on? A lot of the time we're focusing on worst case scenario, etc. Language, phrases we say to ourselves. Already talked a little bit about this. How we describe ourselves, how we identify ourselves. What are the top words and phrases that you use on a daily basis, and the things that you say to yourself? Keep track, because you will probably be mind blown with what you discover, because we are not aware of this until we bring it to light. So how do we create change? How do we create a breakthrough? State, like we talked about, number 1. Our state of mind, so that's our mental and emotional state, and our physiology. Your story, so your belief, the story you explain to yourself over and over again of why your life is the way it is, of who you are. And then the strategy is the solution, it's the action. What are you going to do? It's the result that you want. So here's the thing. When most people try to create a breakthrough or any sort of change, they do it in the order of strategy, story, and state. When I do this, then I'll be successful and feel good enough or whatever. That's the wrong order, and why most people don't change, or maybe they get a result, but it's fleeting and they don't actually feel any different, or where the sabotage happens. So this is where we follow the model instead of be, do, have, not have, do, be. Who do you need to be to have that result? How would they feel having that reality? What is the feeling they're after? We want to cultivate that now instead of chasing it in the future. Remember, your body doesn't know the difference. What beliefs would this person have, and what would they think? So getting clear on this and integrating and embody this into your life, and the action will come easier to you. It will feel like, oh, like that's the obvious action. It'll be more second nature because it's what this person naturally would do. But you also have the mindset and the energy backing the action. This creates alignment. So you already have one tool to change your state, EFT, that we did. And so have you noticed that your thoughts are different and you're more likely to take certain actions when your energy and state is peaceful and grounded versus I'm in my stories, I'm in my head, right? Like we all know this. It's not a great place to be in. So we're also going to do another exercise to demonstrate this. So if you have, highly recommend if you have like a quiet space where you won't be distracted or disturbed, you can lie down if you want. You can sit, whatever you want. It's going to be a visualization exercise. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bathing yourselves in what you want, because the thing is the mind can't tell the difference between real or imagined. So let's start to feed it with the stuff that we want, right? And this is also why hypnosis has been used for over 100 years now, and it works really well. It's even been used as an anesthetic for surgeries when drugs weren't available because of the power of our mind. So we also want to realize that the mind doesn't think in words. It sees images and it communicates in feelings. So it's feelings and visuals that are going to be really, it's going to be what's communicated. And this is what we're going to be doing today in the visualization, which also combines some breath work and NLP. So I just want you to think about, actually, no, let's just dive right into it. I think we're ready for some embodiment. Let me know if you're ready. Put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to be sharing a little bit of music. We're going to start with some breath work. I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like. So I'll test my audio in a second. Yeah, we're ready. Okay. So we're going to be starting with about 3 minutes of breath work. So it's not very long at all. And then I'll be guiding you through a visualization, and then we will come back together. So again, you can be sitting or lying down, whatever you prefer. We're going to be starting with a 3-minute triactive breath. So it's going to be in through the belly, into the chest, out through the mouth. So it's 3-part breath using the mouth. So it's like, so we're doing only mouth breathing in through the mouth. So it's 2 inhales in the mouth, exhale. Let me know if that makes sense. Give me a 2 if that makes sense. If this is too much for any reason, you can just do it through the nose, though we will only be going for 3 minutes. So it's definitely doable. Perfect. Everyone seems to be ready. Okay, I'm going to just test my music so I can like know if you can hear it. Give me a 3 if you can hear it. Oh no, not this one. Okay. Okay, this one. 1 second. Let me know if you hear me. Really? Yeah, it is coming through my mic. I wish I had a tech person. um, Stop screen share and select share. Okay, let's see.
Are you finding it?
Where is it?
So when you select share screen, on the bottom left of that white window, there's share sound. So you want to select that.
You are an angel. Okay, try that again. Can you still?
Bliss all around. Go with the good, forever run. This love is strong, burn all night long. Bless them in full, in all three worlds. My mama said, come my son, come my daughter, come in love, come in honor. Oh Jagadisha, eternal teacher, bliss all around.
Hey, can everyone hear me? Okay, beautiful. Just staying in your meditative state, whether you're lying down or sitting, I'm going to guide you through a visualization. And we're going to go on a little journey. So I want you to just bask in this energy that you've created. I want you to notice the space around you, become aware of the space around you, the room, beyond the room, surrendering into the space as if it was a container holding you. You have all of this space, but it's holding you. Just noticing what is underneath you that is supporting you, supporting your weight, whether it's a chair, a bed, whatever it is, allowing this container to hold you. And I want you to notice, what do you feel called to? How do you feel called to move in this space? Maybe you want to move your body or rock or sway your hips. Maybe you want to scream into a pillow. Maybe you want to take a deep, long exhale with a sigh. Maybe you want to bring a hand to your womb space or to your heart. Maybe you need to cry. This is the feminine. When she feels safe, she can surrender. She can move. It's safe to express herself. How will she express herself? Through you. Just getting in touch with your body now, letting whatever comes to you be allowed. Allowing yourself to follow the impulse. This is your intuitive body. Just taking a few moments. Just let your intuition guide you, whatever feels right, to just connect with your body for a second. Beautiful. Now, in the stillness of this space, can you feel into your heart space? The desires, the longings that might have been buried here, the desires that might have been suppressed, maybe the dreams that have patiently awaited their turn to be acknowledged, to be pursued. What life would feel delicious to you? If all ways were okay, what would it look like? What will you see? What will you hear? What will you feel when you have this life? Let any visual come to mind and give me a nod when you have that visual. It could be an image. It could be anything that comes to mind. I want you to picture that image in your mind. And I want you to make that picture more colorful. And tell me, does that make you want it more? If it does, crank up the color, make it as colorful as you like on that image. Now, what about the brightness? If we crank up the brightness, does that make you want it more? Either crank it up, crank it down, make it as bright as you like. Now, what about the size? If you make that picture bigger in your mind's eye, does that make you want it more? Either making it bigger or smaller, adjusting the size to make you want it even more. Now, what if we brought it up closer? Do you want it more now? Bring it up close if you want, or put it a little bit farther back. Now I want you to look at bringing it into the center. Does that make you want it more? Adjusting where it is on the screen of your mind. Now let's bring up the focus and make it super focused and clear. Does that make you want it more? Let's crank up that focus, make it super clear. Now, is it framed or panoramic? What do you prefer? Make that modification. Is it a movie or is it a still? What if you made it a movie? What if you made it still? Which one makes you want it more? All right, I want you to now freeze that picture, lock it in. You know the sound that a master lock makes, right? I want you to lock in that image in your mind's eye. All right, that's it. Locking it in. It's now locked into your subconscious mind. And keeping this image in mind, admiring this image, can you tap into this version of you? This version of you, the truth of who you are, who's beyond the stories, the programming, the fear, the limitations, who is living this life? Who are they? What life do they live? Without the stories, beyond the programming, beyond the fear and limitations, if all ways were okay. Who is living that life in that image? And I want you to notice, what is the overarching feeling of this version of you and this life? I want you to come up with one feeling or emotion. Maybe it's joy, maybe it's curiosity, maybe it's wonder, maybe it's excitement, maybe it's a feeling of groundedness. Whatever it is, give me a nod when you have that feeling. Beautiful. So I now want you to bring to your mind, can you remember a time when you felt that feeling? Can you remember a specific time? Give me a nod when you have that. Okay, good. As you remember that time now, step into your body, see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel the feelings of feeling totally whatever that emotion is. Feeling how you felt. Allow this feeling to take over your entire body. As it starts to sweep through your body, I want you to imagine yourself stepping into this embodied version of you, like you're putting on a costume. Feeling yourself step into this feeling and embody this version of you who feels this way. Let it take over your entire body, feeling into it. Let it get bigger and bigger and bigger, spreading through your entire body. It's like you're made of this emotion. As it builds and builds and builds. And I want you to take that image and that feeling and bring it into your heart. So bringing your hands to your heart center, letting this energy fuse into your being as you're anchoring it into your heart space. This feeling builds and builds and builds. Taking a deep breath in, letting it anchor into your heart space. Anchoring into this version of you who's dying to be unleashed, who's free now. Where will they go? What will they do? How does the version of you who has what you want think? What do they believe? How do they show up in the world? What are their habits, actions? How can you start living more like them today? What does this version of you feel called towards? Where would they go? What would they do next? What would they think, feel, say differently? And how can you feed that? Just letting whatever comes to mind, basking in this energy for a few more moments, and taking whatever messages, insights, intuition, ideas come with you, and knowing that you have this version and this life within you already, and your subconscious is reprogramming that to bring with you as you move throughout your life. It's anchoring into your cells. Taking one last deep breath in. Sailing into this version of you you're good embody. Moving forward from this moment. Starting to move your body, stretching, wiggling your fingers and your toes. Slowly at your own pace. Invite you to open your eyes. Come back into the room. Beautiful work, everyone. I'd love for you to share when you are ready how you're feeling in the chat. What did you see? How did you feel? And while you do that, did you know that the heart is the most powerful source of electromagnetic energy in the human body, producing the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field of any of the body's organs? So the heart's even more powerful than the mind. The heart's electrical field is about 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity generated by the brain. So the magnetic field that is produced by the heart is more than 100 times greater in strength and can be detected up to 3 feet away from the body in all directions. So this is why this work is so powerful, because you are literally magnetizing the stuff that you want to you. Your field is like in the quantum. So it's not just some woo-woo stuff that's like, oh, that's nice. Like, this is actual science and it's powerful. It doesn't only feel good, but it's actually shifting your auric field. So I'm just going to check the comments. Open and empowered. Love that. Imagine myself playing in the rocks at the beach and floating on my back in the ocean, expansive, trusting. Beautiful. I'd love to hear anybody else's experience. If you want to put in the chat, how was that experience for you? So what do you think would change if you took action from this state more in your life? What would change, if anything, in your life, with your heart being more open and receptive and being more empowered with these new thoughts? Because as I mentioned, it does start with our state and our energy and our focus, right? How much time could we save, or frustration, or even like energy, by tending to our energy first, by being in this energy before we do things? Because a lot of the time, like, I don't have time for that. Could you imagine how much time we could save in frustration if we literally put our energy first and moved from this place? How much more higher thinking and ideas and all of these things that we could actually receive? You wouldn't have all of this clutter in the way, right? And so you have access to this at any time. This is the truth of who you are, beyond, under all of the dust and the disempowering stories and everything, right? And it doesn't have to take a billion actions in your morning routine or a billion years to like get to this place. That was literally like 7 minutes, and there was nothing that you needed outside of you, right? So I'd love for you to actually anchor and take something away from this versus turning off your computer and being like, I'm just going to go back to the automatic programming and hope something changes, right? So I'd love for you to come up with a habit that you'd like to adopt to do this daily to take care of your energy. Maybe it's some sort of visualization like we did. Maybe it's breath work. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something that gets you in your body that really makes you feel good. Whatever it is, I'd love for you to share in the chat so then we can keep each other accountable. And so that you can actually bring something from this. Maybe it was a download that you got during the meditation, whatever it is. I would love to hear. And then we will wrap up for day 2. Anybody want to share meditation visualization of the person I want to be? Beautiful. I love that. Is that going to be a morning thing? Morning routine? Yeah, I love it. Beautiful. Keep them coming. So that is a wrap up of day 2. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for also being patient with my tech issues. I don't think Mercury is in retrograde, but it definitely felt like the past 2 days. So I'm definitely very grateful for your support and being super patient. Thank you so much for being here.